Hi, good morning. My name is Miss Jackie, or Jacqueline Moreno, but I go by Miss Jackie. And today we're going to be focusing on perspective. At the middle school level, it's not just about looking at things from one point of view, but from multiple point of views. When we look at characters, we like to get a full round understanding of the character. So let me back up just a little bit. How many here have heard the story of the Three Little Pigs? Okay, just a little recap. Um, Three little pigs, three brothers, three different houses. Big bad wolf shows up and he huffs and puffs and he blows them all down. And he goes from house to house and he eats each pig. And then, it's a classic tale. But do you think that the story might be told differently if it was told from a different perspective? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at today with the true story of the Three Little Pigs, told by a wolf, but as told to John Scieszka, and illustrated by Lane Smith. So, what I love about this book is that it's set up like a news story, and the illustrations are beautiful, and they all tie into the original story. So, in the original story, just really, really quick. In the original story, there were three little pigs. Each pig had their house made out of a different material. The first one had his house made out of straw, which the wolf is going to discuss. And the second one had his house made out of sticks. And the third one had his house made out of bricks. So it's the little details. Okay, ready? Ready. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody's ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf, but you can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault that wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheeps and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. Our co-reader for today is my dog, Molly. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. Sneeze plus sugar. This is the real story. I love the art in these illustrations, how they all tie into different aspects of the story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold, and I had run out of sugar. There's bunny ears in his grandma's cake. And look, do you recognize this? Can you think of any stories where there was a wolf dressed up like grandma lying in the bed? So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig. And he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build their house out of straw? There he is, going to to ask for his cup of sugar. So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. What happened when he sneezed his great sneeze? What happened to the rest of the house? If the door fell over just from knocking, And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. So now he has to consider what he's going to do next. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a cheeseburger, just lying there. Would you eat a cheeseburger if you just found it lying there in the middle of somebody's house? I was feeling a little bit better, because remember, he was sick. I was feeling a little bit better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little bit smarter, but not by much. He'd built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" He yelled back, "Go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." See, if you haven't heard the original story, these are all like phrases from the original story, so that's why they're playing in here. But as long as you understand the premise of that the wolf was the big bad wolf, then you can start to look at the different perspectives of how the story was told. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe this, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Look at his big old belly from eating 2 pigs already. It's like eating 2 whole Christmas hams by himself. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out there in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full. But my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have had all the brains in the family, because he had built his house from bricks. Brick house? I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker told me? "Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cup from my dear old sweet granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Look at his mean old face. Now, you tell me, if somebody were to say something about your grandma or somebody else that you care about very much, how do you think you would respond? Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when someone talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the little pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. So this is the well-known image of the big bad wolf. He's huffing and he's puffing and he's trying to break into the third little pig's house. And the rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs that I'd had for dinner. They figured that a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all that huff and pluff and blow your house down. And they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could lend me a cup of sugar?